All right. Hey, my friends, and welcome to today's episode where I want to talk about the idea that healing is much more about allowing than it is doing. And a lot of times we are caught in this forceful, doing, willful level of consciousness where we're trying to make it happen, where really it's about allowing it to happen. And I want to just dive into a little bit about what I mean by that. So, if you don't know me real quick, my name is Matt Codde. I'm a licensed clinical social worker and the founder of Restored Minds. If you are looking for help and guidance on your journey to recovery from OCD and anxiety and stress related experiences, check out the links in the notes under this episode, or you can head over to restoredminds.com and we have some great resources for you to get started. Also, if you benefit from the show, please help us out by liking, subscribing, and leaving a nice review. So, what do I mean when I say healing is about allowing than doing? Much more about allowing than doing. Well, we live in a time where we are very forceful, right? We want results. We look at things in the form of numbers and measurements, and we're trying to get results and force them to happen, and very accomplish oriented. And while that can be good for certain things, when it comes to healing, in my experience, it produces a paradoxical or reverse effect often. Oftentimes we're trying to force results too soon, or we're trying to use tools to get what we think should happen to happen, oftentimes when they're designed for something completely different. And when it comes to mental and emotional health specifically, what we have to understand is that healing happens naturally. We allow healing much more than we force or achieve a healing. And even when we do certain things, what we're really doing is moving into a container, a space to allow that healing to happen, because we're usually in a space that's resisting it. So we have this illusion that we accomplished or we made something happen, but oftentimes it's that we removed everything that we were doing that was preventing it to begin with, or any resistance that we had. And what I've seen with OCD and anxiety, specifically with fear, right, is that when we're trying to force a healing, right, and make a healing happen, we are using the tools in a way that, using whatever tools we're using them in a way to accomplish what we think should happen. So whether I'm not supposed to feel fear, so I'm going to do this so this fear goes away, or I'm going to try to use this tool to make thoughts go away, or I'm going to do this to accomplish X. When really the tools, if you really step back and look at most tools, they're not designed for those purposes. They are designed for giving your body and the emotion or the thoughts the space to actually naturally do what they do. So a lot of healing with emotion and fear is about letting the fear come to the surface and being non-resistant to it, actually letting it run its course in a truly non-resisted way. Now, resistance is oftentimes subconscious, and we don't really know that we're resisting things often. So a lot of the work is about a level of self-mastery to where you can understand where you're operating from, resistance or non-resistance. And when you understand that triggers happen very naturally in life and fear surfaces very naturally, you start to begin to realize that fear and anything that's really stored in my nervous system, any of my lower emotions, tend to come up on their own. And that I don't forcefully need to do things. Now, there's certain fears that I need to go out and directly confront sometimes. Sure, right? And there are certain exposures that are good to go and do directly, right? But for most of the time, they come up very naturally in our lives when we're just living according to how we would normally live if we weren't allowing fear to dictate our experience. And when that happens, you have to understand that, that's life allowing healing, in my perspective. That's life giving you this opportunity for this emotion to come up and for you to release it. And a lot of us look at that experience as this trigger or this event, this thing that happened to me, and then therefore we resist it and we fight it and we try to control it. And that is us actually working in opposition to our own healing. And this is what I mean when I say healing is much more of an allowing than it is of a forceful nature. Because if you're trying to, let's say, do exposures once a week for a 1 hour day, you're not going to get anywhere with that. You might as well just not even do that, in my opinion. Because you get into this, this lying to yourself that you're trying to recover. When really it's like, it's the same way as, like if I go to, I'm trying to think of a good analogy, but if you were trying to recover from alcoholism, right? And you were drinking every day and you were like, well, I didn't drink, for this block of hours. It's like, yeah, that's good, but ultimately, like, that's not going to get you where we want to go, right? And removing it at that segment of like an hour segment is not going to get you where we want to go. And that's why, like, if you're saying, hey, I'm doing an exposure once a week or something like that, like for the trajectory of your recovery, it's not going to get you where you want to go, right? Exposure and confronting fear needs to be a continual practice, and it needs to be consistent, right? That's how we retrain a nervous system. You can't validate that a fear is real, 6 days a week, 23 hours, and then try to challenge it 1 hour a week, right? Nothing's gonna change there. And we have to be honest about that. But what does happen is experiences in life tend to unfold very naturally. And if we actually use the experiences, we're actually allowing the healing process to take place. When an emotion comes up, if we actually are allowing the emotion to be there and run its course, that's us allowing healing to happen instead of trying to force it and will it to happen. And I think when you understand this idea of going with the allowing process versus the forceful process, you start to understand how much more fruitful this is, because you realize that you don't need to be so controlling and so rigid in your thinking and belief systems, that you really begin to trust that there's an allowing that you can trust to happen. And that's generally what happens with, even the idea of an emotion like anxiety and fear coming up. Force and will tries to get you to get rid of it as opposed to allowing it to release. And so when you start to understand this idea that healing is much more about allowing and recovery is much more about allowing than it is doing and willing and forcing, you begin to understand the tools in a different way. You begin to understand the processes in a different way. You understand your experiences altogether in a different way. And that recontextualization, that reshaping, allows you a complete new relationship with the experience, which then allows you to do completely different actions and responses, which then allows you completely different results. And so if you aren't getting the results that you want and you aren't where you want to be today, it's not usually about trying to force and will your way harder. It's not a matter of like, go work harder, go try harder, go put more effort in. Because if your effort is misdirected to begin with, it's just going to work against you. Most of the time, it's about a recontextualization that needs to take place in seeing the healing opportunities that are already in front of you for what they really are. And understand that triggers, events that bring up emotion, those are amazing opportunities that if you actually allowed to come into your life and actually allowed the emotion when it was there to go through, and to allow yourself to challenge the beliefs and all of the stuff that goes into this process, they can be incredibly fruitful and incredibly powerful and incredibly healing for you on your journey. So it's a message for today. I hope it was helpful. I hope it served you. And if you found it helpful, please share it with someone else. And with that, wishing you a great day and a great week. And I look forward to seeing you soon. Hey there. Thanks so much for watching that episode. If you found it helpful, we have some links to some other episodes that we think you might like as well. And if you're looking for help on your journey to recovery from fear, stress, and anxiety, either check out the links in the notes or head over to restoredminds.com. Thank you, and talk to you soon.